All right, we are here, A2M Contractors office, temporary office, as we're going through COVID-19. I'm Greg Sharp. I am the owner of A2M Contractors. This is
Melissa Camacho.
She's our office manager and operations manager, and also someone who laughs at all my jokes. So she's here for the first ever podcast question off. Have some fun. Video informational event. Just trying to make it happen. Just like today, we had our new A2M cups. See, I kind of like that. As a contractor, we realized that duct tape fixes everything. And since we didn't have a sponsored A2M cup, I fixed my cup with A2M. Which is a funny story because when I was growing up, we grew up in, I'll call, I'd say upper lower class. My dad was in the FAA and worked very hard. My mom stayed home for a lot of the years and then went back to teach later on when we kind of got past our schooling. She went back and helped in as a teacher's aide. But I remember growing up and we could not afford to have Nike shoes. And we would have our typical Kmart or whatever it was, whatever my parents could afford, which was great. I mean, it was what it was. And my brothers and some of my close friends will attest to the fact that I took a Sharpie marker and made my own Nike shoes back then with a swoosh. Now, the swoosh wasn't quite as good as the swoosh looks on regulars, but I had them.
But you had them?
But I had them. Nike was there. So sometimes you just have to get a little duct tape and make a swoosh. All right, so behind the scenes is Anthony Alcaraz, and he'll have the mic above us, as you can see. Seeing this is our first one, if I keep looking up at that, I'm just wondering if his arms are strong enough to keep it elevated out of the camera shot long enough. Well, we'll keep talking and we'll find out. All right, so we're going to do our first ever podcast series number 1, brought to you by A2M Contractors, your contractor for all your contracting needs. Yeah, we're here in San Diego. And a little background on A2M Contractors. I'm a general contractor and a licensed roofer, which means probably not a whole lot other than the fact that I took 2 tests through the state and they were nice enough to double my license fee and we get a lot of work that way. But today, Melissa has our top 5 questions
That I took from another website.
That you took from another website to be able to come up with some content today. And we're gonna go through some of this and we'll try to make it informational, because at the end of the day, this is informational. We'll try to make it funny. I'll try to make it funny. You know me. I'll keep some of the noise funniness down to a minimal for the hour. Be tough. We may have to do a few breaks in between, but ultimately what we want to do is give you guys some information on how to build, how to choose a contractor, stuff like that. And as we go on and do more podcasts, what I'm hoping to do is bring in other subcontractors, bring in other clients who we've done work with, tell them the pros and cons. Construction is not perfection, so when you're in construction, you're going to have a lot of problems to a job site. You're going to have a lot of funny moments. You're going to have a lot of pissed off moments. You're going to have a lot of all kinds of moments. And, the better contractors out there figure it out and just realize that it may not come out the way we want it the first time, but, we stay at it and we get it to where, it is perfect and what the client wants. So
to start, question number 1.
Wait, A2M.
Sponsored by A2M Contractors.
Find us on Facebook and Instagram by radio voice. Should I do it in my radio voice?
Huh.
Hey, Melissa, yes. All right, we're going at question number 1. Give it to me.
How do I find a quality contractor?
Well, there's no longer a phone book in the world. There is a website and a web page and Google and Bing and everything else out there. I guess the first thing to do is to tell you how not to find a quality contractor. And then I can kind of answer on how to find a quality contractor. If I was telling folks how to not pick a contractor, I would tell them first thing is if your contractor knocked on your door, has a notebook and a evaluation pad and is doing a scan of the area and going door to door, he's probably not the contractor you want to hire. Now, there are good contractors that do door to door, but most of the time, contractors who go door to door, in my opinion, and again, the opinions are those expressive. Greg, sure, I've A2M Contractors. But in my opinion, people who knock on the door are in the sales game. So when you're in the sales game, your object is to get as much money from the consumer as you can. Plain and simple. You know, you're hoping to find a consumer that's not educated enough in the world of what they're doing, or looking at you as an expert when more times than not you're not. The guy knocking on the door, the girl knocking on the door, is not going to be an expert in the field. They're going to be an expert in knocking on the doors. That's what they do. They're called canvassers. And they're good at knocking on the doors, and they're used to taking 1,000 no's a day to get 3 yeses. They just don't. And so they're going to knock on your door, and more times out of not, they're going to come up to you and say, hey, you know what? We noticed that your roof is old. We noticed that your paint is bad. We noticed that your gutters are rusted, or your windows are old. We're in the area and we're doing repairs on other people's houses, and we want to give you an opportunity to speak with somebody from our office, right? Well, number one, 9 times out of 10, they're not doing repairs in your area. They've been dropped off by a van, and they're scamming and scanning. I shouldn't say scamming, but scanning the area to be able to find a person that the company can send a salesperson to. And if they send the salesperson to, then hopefully they can interact in a long-winded presentation to get you as a consumer to believe that they're an expert and buy their product.
So does that mean that when they have a sales representative, you're not actually dealing with the contractor?
No, most time not. In the state of California, you could be what they call a home improvement salesperson. I think it's HIIS, they use it. And what that basically means is they give you a small test that says, the do's and don'ts of being inside somebody's house. And then they give you a certification. And then that certification then gets uploaded into the Contractor State Board licensing website. And then you attach that certification to your company who that person's selling for. Mm-hmm. Those salespeople typically go through a sales process, a sales class. So they're getting told what the products are, but they're coming to you and trying to impress upon you that they know what they're talking about. Typically, they don't have calluses on their hands, and they're driving a car instead of a truck. And not that you can't be in construction with a car, because you can, but typically you're not. And they are always late to their meeting because they had this big deal they just closed, and they're going to give you a great option, and you're going to be the neighborhood marketing rep, and all the things that they're going to try to persuade you to become their next client. Now, do these companies typically do their own work? The answer is no. They just don't do their own work. So then they go out and they get this contract signed, and normally, again, it's from people who don't understand really what they're buying, but they are trusting in the fact that this person who came to them is telling them that what's going on with their house is real. And it may be or may not be. I can't tell you because everybody's different. So then they take this person, the salesperson, they really pound on you to try to get you to sign that day. Oh, we're going to give you the special weekend market neighborhood. I can't believe my manager, who I just called, who's probably on the phone telling me that you need to push harder to get this contract, and drop $2,000. And now all of a sudden you went from 30 to 28. And you're like, all right, well, I just got a discount. Maybe this is the right company. So now these companies then go out and they find normally what I'll call the lowest common denominator of financial contractor. Whoever's going to do the work, they try to get somebody who's potentially licensed. Normally they're licensed, but sometimes I've seen not. And what they try to do then is they try to get the lowest price from them, and then you have what's called the middle. So the middle is where the company gets paid and the salespeople get paid, and that's normally at least 50% of what you're paying as a consumer. So let's say you have a normal roof, shingle roof in Spring Valley, okay? 26, 27 squares, all right? Maybe that roof, $12,000, $13,000, maybe less. I don't, it depends upon the complexity. Maybe more. Maybe it has more wood rot, stuff that things may or may not be seen, and you have to change them after you strip the roof. But what happens is that the consumer's paying 28. They're paying a lowest common denominator contractor, let's say 10 in this case, because they're thinking they're going to make volume, so they're going to take as many of these projects because they're not going to get what they would normally get. But they're going to be busy. So now you've got $18,000 of basically difference between what the job costs and what the company's making. So how do they justify it? Well, they got to pay their canvassers, they got to pay their salespeople, they got to pay their office overhead. So they have a unique justification to it, but the reality is you pay too much. And the reality of paying too much is that you didn't do your homework and you really didn't find out what a good contractor costs.
Just paid $18,000 extra.
You just paid $18,000? It happens all the time. Like, I'll come to a client, and you've set them up, but we get a client that calls us. We use Home Advisor. Home Advisor is at Angie's List.
We're top rated.
Top rated. Yeah, 5 stars. And those 5 stars aren't with duct tape, which makes it even better. But what happens is that, let's say Home Advisor calls you set up an appointment, I go out and see, Mike, Sally, Joe, whoever, right? And I start talking to them about your roof, and I might ask them, hey, have you had anybody else take a look at it? What have they seen? And then sometimes you'll hear, hey, I had this guy come in and gave me a price, but it seemed really, 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 really high. I said, well, did they come to you and say they just were late because they got off a big job that they just sold and had extra material? And they're like, whoa, wait a second, how'd you know that? And it's like, well, because that's their sales game. And a lot of people, if they don't do their homework, will fall for it. Because they just feel it's somebody who's got a suit and a tie on, has come to their door, has got a nice kit, in this case we're talking about roofs, but let's say they have a flip roof kit and they show you the ins and outs, or, they think that there's this professional level of trust that they just gained because now, why would this person come into their home and lie to them, right? But the reality is that's what happens. So that's a bad contracting, situation. So you don't want to go with a door knocker in most cases. Or if you want to find out what the door knocker has to offer and you want to sit through a 4-hour presentation, and waste an afternoon, then go ahead and waste the afternoon, but go out and get 2 or 3 more proposals.
At least 3.
3 or more, right? Because, at some point you can overthink contracting, and work. Because if you're going to get 3 and you got 3 quality contractors, they should be in a semi-reasonable level of each other. You get one guy that's way too high, that he's not right. You get one guy who's way too low, you got to figure, is this guy going out of business? Why is his price so significantly lower than everybody else? If everybody else is doing their own work as well, So you've got to kind of get that middle range. That's really where you're going to want to look as a homeowner. So that's a contractor that you won't want to deal with. And the other contractor that you really don't want to deal with, in my opinion, is a friend of a friend contractor. Right? Having a referral is one thing. We get a lot of referral business, right? So there's nothing better than somebody already telling you how great of a job you did. The friend of a friend contractor is the guy who's out of work, or a guy who's looking for work, or needs
or the friend of the friend who knows how to do this,
or the friend of the friend who knows how to do this. And we just had the folks over there at Chula Vista.
Yes.
Had a friend of a friend repair their roof, in this case again, and the next rain it rained, and that was this year, and they're finally calling somebody because they'd be able to recoup the money to be able to do a real repair with a licensed roofer in this case. So those are the kind of people you want to stay away from. Okay. You also have, your website review specialists. The people that supposedly have all these 5-star reviews, hundreds of 5-star reviews, right? And you wonder, how can a contracting company that does, $300,000 a year in revenues, and have been in business for 4 years,
Have so many reviews.
have 255, 5-star reviews, right? I mean, it's just, the numbers are mind-boggling. I mean, to do 255 kitchen remodels in 3 years, you average 6 and change a month, and you do it well, and you've got that, nobody has that. So you've got to kind of weed through some of this because it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. So to find a good contractor, referral being a good quality referral, meaning that you had me do work, you were satisfied with my work, and you enjoyed the process of having the work done, and there was a good communication level. You tell your friend who's looking for a good contractor because you're a first party, review. So that's a great way to find a good contractor, right? The other way of finding a good contractor is to go to reputable websites. If you go to Angie's Lists or Home Advisors, and they're commercialized. They are. You have to realize that they are pay for play.
Yes.
But the reality of the pay for play is that hopefully they can weed out some of the sales tactics or the non-productive proposals that you would get, because over time you'll get some organic reviews. You'll have a better feel for when somebody comes, if they're giving you a legitimate price or not. And then get a couple proposals. I always say, people ask me, they say, oh, we're going to get 3 proposals. It's fine. I said, I'm probably not going to be the highest, and I'm probably not going to be the lowest. I said, I'll either be the highest or the lowest if you only get 2, right? If you're one of 2, you're going to either be the highest or the lowest. I said, if you're 3, I'm usually in the middle. Look at my reviews. All of our reviews online are organic.
Yes.
I've never asked you to go out and call people for reviews. So anybody who's left us a review has left us a review because they want us to know that they appreciated our work. And if you do stuff like that and you have a good contractor and a good rapport with that contractor, and they're fairly priced and they work with you, that word of mouth referral then becomes really invaluable. And if you look at us as a company, there are hundreds and hundreds of roofers, so we have to kind of market, right? I mean, we've been doing this for a while, and we do 80 to 100 roofs a year at times. But when we market is because there are so many roofers out there, you have to have some place for people to see you. And because the world of websites is not like the world of the phone book, where the first letter is the first one you see, it's how they've played the game of getting to the top of the Google or Bing list. Those are the people that you're going to get to first. And if you're with a website like Angie's List or a Home Advisor and you work well with them, you're going to elevate organically because that's what they do for you. They go to Home Advisor and then they can see who the better contractors are. So referral, ask first party friends that have had work done. Who's done work in your house that you feel you can trust and feel it was a fair price and it was a great job. Okay. Second, go to verifiable websites. Those are always a good way to do it. Stay away from the pay for plays. There's a lot of review sites out there. Hey, listen, they're all pay for play. I mean, you can pay for Yelp, you can pay for Google, you can pay for any one of those. You can kind of position yourself.
Yes.
But if they're not really promoting real contracting, at least real tradesmen, it's kind of hard. And stay away from door knockers. Door knockers are really a great way for you to pay way too much money.
I always tell consumers to look at our reviews on Home Advisor.
Right.
Because they're great and they're organic.
And it makes it easy, right? And so, even like the last one we did from Peter, it was back in February we did his house. He had solar panels on. We ripped his roof off the day after the solar company took it off. We had him done in 3 days, and we had originally thought it would take about 4 or 5. And then he put solar back on, no leaks. He was very, very happy. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in September, he throws us a review. So it's actually pretty cool.
So now moving forward,
All right.
what should the consumer be aware of?
Definitely door knockers. And people who try to pressure you to sign the day of. Right? If I come into you, Melissa, let's say I say, man, Melissa, your roof is, oh man, let me show you some pictures of how bad your roof is. Have you ever been on your roof, Melissa? Of course you have.
Of course not.
Yeah, you didn't get your ladder out there and check it out. Man, it's bad. Let me tell you. Let me show you. See that picture there, the laminated shingle, or you go underneath their cabinet. Oh yeah, it's pretty bad. Look how old this piping is. Well, every piping is old, right? It's like every picture is old. It's like if somebody takes a picture of you and they say, "Oh, is that an old picture of you?" Well, every picture is an old picture of you, right? Yeah, at one point, Mitch Hedberg, one of my favorite comedians, used to say, wow, man, that's a picture of me in the future. How'd you get that, right? So, stay away from alarmists. If you have a problem or not. If your faucet's leaked and you've got water on your floor and you've got an issue. The first person you're going to call is, probably a contractor if you don't shut off your water, but if not, your insurance agency, right? And they're going to refer you to a contractor who works well with them. And that's kind of what you want in an insurance application because, it's a quirky world. Insurance is, they try to use, again, the lowest common denominator financial proposal. But they kind of go off of the, hey, how much volume am I going to give you if you're one of our preferred contractors?
So would you recommend for a consumer to wait a couple days before signing the contract?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. Kind of review it. Read it a couple of times. See what's apples to apples. It's important. I mean, know what you're getting. That's it. And you can't know, if you only talk to one person, you can't know what you're getting. If I come in, you're going to make a decision based upon emotion and price. Hopefully, if you are working as a salesperson, you can get the consumer emotionally enough attached to the fact that they need to do it now, and then hopefully they can agree upon the price. And if the price is what's in their checkbook and they can afford it, they may feel as if it's urgent. If they've built up, if that salesperson's built up enough urgency, they could possibly just, and that's what they go on. They go on emotion and price. So always kind of walk away because, it doesn't matter. They're going to want your business 3 days from now as much as they want your business today.
So what if I signed that contract that same day? Is it set in stone?
You do have a 3-day right of rescission in the state of California, and they have to give you that. They have to give you that in writing. So, again, stay away from signing the first day. It just doesn't make good business sense as a homeowner. And your home is your business, right? You're paying a mortgage, that's really your rent to live in the home that you're investing in your business, the home being the business that eventually you hope to pay off, that eventually will be something of your retirement in the future, right? So definitely beware of signing immediately, high pressure sales, do a little homework, ask around, even ask for a referral or two. There's nothing wrong with that. A good contractor will give you a couple people to talk to.
So what are ADUs?
Basically granny flat, rental property, second home. A lot of people have looked to make their property more valuable. I mean, the housing market right now in San Diego is crazy low in inventory. I was talking to a realtor the other day, and she had said that East Lake Greens, which is around from us, it's a big community, had only one house for sale in the whole property. The whole area, one house for sale.
Oh my God.
I mean, if you drove around here, we live in Otay Ranch, there's not a lot of houses for sale. There's just not a lot of inventory out there. So people who have gone through the trend of, watching a house come back up in price over the last 7-8 years, who have some equity in it, are and want to buy bigger, there's nothing for them to buy bigger. They can't buy up. With pandemics and lack of space and all this stuff that's going on, the very easiest thing to do is look in your backyard and say, hey, I have some space. I want to make my house my business, right? So I want to have some extra rental income. So eventually when I've paid off my house, this rental income in my backyard is going to give me some spending cash, or at least some living cash. And so the birth of the granny flat came about, and the granny flat being, in the olden days, a place where you put your parents, right? An extra living place where you put your, son or daughter.
But is there a lot size requirement?
It's an interesting question because there used to be. When ADUs first hit, there was really some wacky laws, and I don't want to say wacky, but kind of wacky, because you had to have, you could do attached, you could do detached. They looked at your square footage of your house. There was a maximum, in some cases it was 1,000 square feet, I think it was, if it was attached, or a maximum of 1/2 of the square footage of your house if it was attached. So if you only had a 1,500 square foot house, back then I think you could only have a 750 square foot ADU. You could have a detached, the detached has gone up and down, but they passed a law, it's called AB 68 in California, and what AB 68 basically did, Assembly Bill 68 of the state Senate, yes, but radio voice dubbed over, basically kind of relaxed the laws. Because what they said was, we have a housing shortage, we need more housing, we need to have people be able to get what their maximum value and their investment out of their house is. And we're going to take away some of the fees that are associated with doing it, as well as take away some of the ratios of size proportion that had existed, and said, listen, you can do up to 1,200 square feet. Setbacks have kind of changed. You can do a 4 foot for a smaller footprint, 6 foot for a little larger, which has changed a bit. Some municipalities still have higher or more distant setbacks. But what it did was give people the ability to kind of build. And
so do you think that's what made them more popular?
without a doubt. I mean, if you look at what's going on in the world of, and that's not my phone, folks. Whose phone is that? Is that
The
yours?
office?
That's the office phone? It's ringing. We're not even live, and it's ringing. People are like, wow, let me call in and tell Greg and Melissa you're doing an awesome job. I don't know what number that is on the YouTube video, but we'll look on the comment side. If I get 6 minutes and 22 seconds, the phone rings, and it's like, awesome job, Melissa and Greg. Your question again was?
So the fact that they're now more affordable, they're not so specific with the requirements?
Yes, they took the requirements back, as I think was the original question. They took the requirements back because of the shortage of properties, number one, to buy up into. There's still, as much as a lot of people want to leave California because of taxes and nonsense and everything else, and this is not a political podcast. It's from A2M.
It's a construction.
It's a construction podcast. Because there's still a large amount of people coming this way. Because of the premise of Airbnbs, right? Airbnbs are great ways for people to make their house a resource for income.
Business.
Right. And for garage to fitness, but that's a different podcast. Because of all these things, what happens is that now folks are looking at this as a form of retirement. I mean, we had a couple up in Oceanside, we're building the two up there, and he was a retired.
And you built one in North Park.
Yeah, we build them all over the place, and you know what happens is these folks are coming in and they're like, we want to try to do this because this could be our retirement. You know, we have some equity in our house. It's cheaper to build right now than it is to sell, meaning that the ratio of building cost to value of the housing cost makes it a good transitional investment. Meaning, if you can build an ADU, for an example, for $220 a square foot, just sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, depending on your complexity and finishes, right? But your property value in your neighborhood is $320 a square foot. So let's look at 1,000 square foot property with 1,000 square foot ADU, right? So we take 1,000 square foot ADU and it costs $220,000 in this example to build. But the resale value on that ADU, because it's part of the property value in that area, might be $320 a square foot, might be more, you know. So now that ADU, your property value or resale value might be $320,000 more. You spent $220 to get to $320. You might have a net gain of $100,000. you might have a net gain of even more. ADUs have to be green friendly. They have to have solar on them now. There's what's called Title 24 in California, which is a bunch of energy-driven laws that help makes your building sustainable or green. You have energy-efficient windows, energy-efficient shingles or roof coverings. All your appliances have to be energy efficient. There's values of plumbing that in terms of flow and gallons per minute and stuff like that, and how you rate all these things. They have what's called HERS testing, which takes all of these items and puts them together and gives an equation to say whether it's really an energy efficient unit or not. And if it's not, you have to correct that. You have to bring it to an energy level. Even your AC and furnaces have to be a certain level of efficiency. So there is a value because the buildings themselves are being built well, especially if you have a good contractor, they're being built well. If you have a licensed contractor, which you should, because most of the time you're getting a contractor to do your work. Every once in a while you'll have an owner develop property where the owner wants to do all the construction himself, which he can or she can, but they still need to get people to do the work. They have a bigger responsibility to that, and it's probably not the best thing to do to be your own contractor. But you get a general contractor, and they have the inspection sheets and all the codes, and they have a design they have to go off of, and typically it's a great finished product that's rentable. If you're in an area that's people want to be in, like we're doing the two in Oceanside, and the next one we're starting at the end of the month in Oceanside, and then that couple who stopped by in November we're starting in Oceanside. So if you look at all of these, Oceanside's a very good place to do it. Point Lomas, all the Genesee Aves where we've done it, the North Park. So all these areas have a great value. And what's also relaxed in the laws with AB 68 is that the parking requirements have lapsed, or I shouldn't say lapsed, but have eased up. So where there were all of these stipulations, lot size, parking, ADU size, AB 68, I think it was February of this year, kind of came into play, and that's kind of eased all those regulations to help people do it. So ADUs are extremely popular right now, and they're actually a good investment. In most places, if you have a 2 or 3 bedroom ADU and 2 bath, you might be able to get yourself $2,000 to $3,000 a month in extra rental income.
Pay your mortgage.
Pay your mortgage, absolutely. Certainly, $2,000 or $3,000 is going to be a lot more than what your ADU payment is for whatever your loan is. If you had to take a loan, or if you paid cash, well, then it's just cash to your pocket. And so you have there's an ROI, return on your investment at some point. If you do the math, wherever it's going to be, it's probably it's a good investment.
So now leaving ADUs behind.
Do we have to?
Yes.
Because we have to give us a plug. Go to our website. Look at our ADU page. Alan is working on it right now. Alan, if you're out there, this is after the fact. I know that we're going to be done by then. Don't let us down. Go to the
Or go to our Instagram.
Or go to our Instagram.
We have a lot of pictures for our ADUs.
We do. Or our Facebook page.
And then a video is coming up on Instagram.
Right.
From the inside.
From the inside of an ADU. And from us as well. That'll get posted. But go to our website, and here's the great thing about ADUs and us, and we have great designers. It's going to be a free consultation. We're not going to give you a proposal right then and there, because it's like proposing on what's behind curtain number 1 and not knowing what's behind curtain number 1. There are some design costs that are hard costs that you have to go through. We can give you budgets.
Depends on the finishes.
Depends on the finishes. And ultimately, what would happen, it depends on the square footage, right? And the complexity of the building. If it's just gable to gable, which is left to right, or if it's kind of in a T, or if it's kind of a modern look, or, there's a lot of things that go into that.
Okay. So now, based on your opinion.
My opinion. Which all of these answers are based solely on the opinion of Craig Sharp of A2M Contractors.
When would you recommend to do a kitchen and bathroom remodel?
Good question from whoever presented that to the website we stole it from.
I borrowed it.
Borrowed, right. We can return, well, we really didn't take it from them because they still have it.
Because I just changed it.
Exactly, exactly. You know, it's like the news, right? You know, we kind of change the news to suit our
So
purpose.
you borrowed it.
Right, we borrowed it. So, best time to do home remodel improvements, kitchen, bathroom remodels. We see a lot of folks ask about that. And the interesting thing is that a lot of people want to do these repairs before they sell a home. And in my opinion, I think it's the wrong time to do that. Now, there's probably realtors out there that are probably just, you know, coughing and hacking and like, you know, giving a, you know, do it before, you know, get it done before. But the reality is that if you're going to do a kitchen or bathroom remodel before you sell your house, then your bathroom and your kitchen has to be, in my opinion, so bad that you have to do it to bring it up to a level that's acceptable, right? A level that is, someone's going to come in and say, yeah, it's bad, but it's, you know,
But I
it's
can do it
worth it.
mine.
What's that?
Mine. Like if I come into a place that has a bad kitchen, it wouldn't matter because you can change it to your own.
Correct. So a lot of times you can limit who you're marketing to or your sales. I mean, if let's say you take 100 people and you, Melissa, are the consumer and you own your house and you're like, man, I've always wanted a green kitchen, right? Of those 100 people, if you change it and put however many thousands or tens of thousands, it's not cheap to do a kitchen remodel, but let me rephrase that. It's not cheap. So if you've seen it on TV on some of the network shows that, yeah, I did this kitchen remodel and refaced the countertops and appliances for $2,500. It's not real. So, I mean, it's not real. I mean, maybe somebody sponsored them or they felt that that's all they charged them, but it's not really what it costs. But let's say, going to the example, you want that green kitchen and you have 100 people that are potential buyers, right? There's 100 people in the market to buy your house. And they walk in and you just put $50,000 into your kitchen, let's just say. And it's amazing. You're the Bellagio of kitchens in San Diego. Well, if somebody doesn't like green, okay, and let's say 80% of those people don't like green, your $50,000 was wasted. Because right now you've limited your pool to 20. And if any one of those 20 people don't like your house, then those other 80 people who might have liked your house, that don't like your kitchen, now are coming back to you potentially at some point and saying, well, we want a credit because we want to do the kitchen again, right? So my advice is to look at your lifespan in your house. If you see that your house is something you're going to want to sell in the next 1 to 3 years, putting a lot of money into a kitchen or bathroom remodel is maybe not the answer to you because you're not necessarily going to do what everybody wants to see. And even though it's a finished brand new product, somebody could walk in and not like the tile that may have bought your house or gave you full dollar. Okay? So giving people the opportunity to do their own renovations when they come in is maybe a better value than trying to do something, you know, uniquely specific to your liking. Now, if you want to just do an overall renovation with a very standard look, some white subway tile in a bathroom, or you want some white shaker cabinets in a kitchen, and you want to kind of take
Like a facelift?
a facelift, there's some value in that. But you have to really kind of be concerned of how much you're really putting into it, because you're not necessarily always going to get dollar to dollar back on what you invest. So if it's 1 to 2 years, my opinion is let the person who's coming into your house, who's going to buy it from you, do their own renovations. 5 years to 10 years and 10 years above, I think are all good time frames to do a kitchen or bathroom renovation. Certainly if you see your house, you see yourself living in your house for 10 years plus, okay? Put the kitchen you always wanted in. Because you're going to be living in that kitchen 365 days a year, right? 366 with a leap year, but 365. All right?
24/7?
Or we're going to do 365.25, right? It's 52 weeks in a year, 4.33 weeks in a month. How do I know all this? I don't know. I looked it up before we started. No, but if you're going to be living in your house for 10 years plus, put put something in you're going to want to live in, right? You're going to want. I mean, if you want green cabinets, put the green cabinets in because it's your house. You're going to be living in that house. You're going to want that house to be what your level of pleasure is. And if you've always want to have a green kitchen, then have a green kitchen. There's nothing wrong with that, right? If you always want to have a bathroom with a bench or, with a dual valve system in the shower, or you wanted a vanity that's different than the one you have, or you wanted the walls tiled, subway tiled, or mosaic, or whatever, to do it. I mean, whatever color really, makes you feel as if it's your personal touch, then your houses should be someplace that you enjoy being in. Oh, they got that fly going around you. I want to pan away from Melissa. She's swatting that fly. All you environmentalists out there, don't kill that fly, Melissa. That fly is going to take some pollen from a tree somewhere. Actually, no, it's not. It's never going to leave this house again. But make an improvement that makes you happy. That's all. And so the best time to do a kitchen and bathroom remodel, in my opinion, is when you know you're going to stay in your house for a period of time. Now, that 5-year to 10-year mark, I always tell folks, if you're going to do something, don't do something that's creatively unique to you for 5 to 10 years. It's absolutely, I would not want to live in a house for 5 years and not have a quality kitchen if I could help it. I would not want to live in a house and have a quality bathroom if I could help it. I would want a quality kitchen. I would want a quality bathroom. If I can afford to have it, that's what I want. So you should do the improvement, because that's a lot of time that you're spending in a house. 0 to 5 to 10 years. You're spending quite a bit of your life in there. So you should have something that's kind of comfortable and uniquely, refreshing to you. But to that point, try to stay away from the end game of, this is my forever house and I want to have something unique to me. Because functionality and commonality in your building will definitely pay off more for you and keep the number of people interested in your house. So go with something that's very, in right now. White shaker cabinets, again, very in. Light countertops, quartz, farm sinks, dual sinks, tile floors, hanging range hoods, for bathrooms, kind of a dual valve system, frameless glass doors, things that look great and can resell. Stay with those things, and I think you'll get a good value out of the dollar that you spend. You'll never get really the value that you put into it, because it's kind of a labor of love. Yeah, and the labor of love law is that you never get out of what you put into it, right?
So you would recommend to look for the trends?
Look for the trends. Say something that's trendy. Say with the thought process in mind, and I'm going to sell this house in 5 to 10 years tops. I want to be able to keep as much of the market share interested in me as possible.
Okay. So next, why did you decide to become a contractor?
Barber school is full. What do you mean? I can't cut hair? I mean, look at my haircut. I mean, I've had the same haircut for 50 years. Now, I came out of the womb with this haircut. You think I'm lying? But my dad he was in the Air Force, and he was a FAA director for many, many years. But growing up, we had Mike the Barber, and Mike the Barber was on top of Munsell Road, and Munsell Road, he had this little shop. I actually kind of moved around a little bit, but Mike the Barber was, one on the side, two on top. One on the side, two on top. And as we got older, we could let it go a little, 2 on the side, 3 or 4 on top to get a little part going. But you talk about things that are traumatizing in your life. I mean, when my hair touches my ear, it's like I can't, I look in the mirror and I think this, is this guy gonna, get me or something? I mean, so my dad kind of put that kind of barbershop mentality on me. And when I went to become a barber, they said, you know what, the chairs are awful. We don't want your guy yet. So I looked around and contracting seemed to be a good fit for me. But, the reality is that, growing up, trades were really the way that you made money as a young person. Whether you were mowing the lawn, or mowing lawns, you were raking leaves, shoveling snow. Those are trades, okay? They're really basic trades, but they're trades. They're really the gateway into construction trades, right? I ended up in high school working with some of my football coaches that Actually had landscaping companies in the summertime, and then eventually I started working with some tradespeople. And I went to college, and I realized through college, as I kind of matriculated through it, that I didn't want to put a suit and a tie on, and I really didn't want to put a lab coat on. I mean, I started as a chemical engineer, I finished up as a chemistry and economics major, and the reality of those transitional things is that I didn't want to be positioned to have to live in a 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 7 world, 9 to 9 world, or whatever the world was, that somebody else signed the bottom of my check, and I was held life-wise hostage to somebody else's needs of me. So becoming a contractor was a great way for me to be my own boss, as well as a great way to be my own schedule making. And that was important, because as I had kids, then the reality of having the freedom of life to be able to go to their games and go to their events and go and do all the functionality things that you need to really do as a dad and as a parent, then that's how becoming a contractor was important to me. I could tell you this: in the world of contracting construction right now, there's a real shortage of tradesmen. Mike Rowe, who is the voice of Dirty Jobs and a lot of those great shows on A&E that I watch, and he has these programs out there that try to sponsor young kids to go into trade schools all the time, because there's not a lot of tradesmen coming back up. And I think the pull is that there's this real struggle in today's day and age. The technology, computers are, you can sit in front of them and find 1 million followers on Instagram. And we want 1 million followers on Instagram. I just want to say
we do.
That way we are sponsor friendly.
And Facebook too.
Yeah, and we get the blue check, and we're certified or certifiable, one or the other. Kids today are in an age where technology really runs how they develop. Schools, as the AC flips on, if it's getting a little bit hot, I kind of subliminally say AC snap on. Schools teach to the computers now, and it's really an interesting thing, because when my kids went to school, penmanship was not something that was graded, right? Because they considered it a motor skill. And I said, well, what do you mean it's considered a motor skill? Well, you either have it or you don't. I said, well, motor skill to me really isn't whether you have it or you're not. It's motor skill is something that you fine tune and, you can work on, right? So speech is a motor skill. Being able to talk is a motor skill. Being able to write your name should be a skill that requires you to become proficient at it. Well, that's no longer the case. In math, which I excelled in math as a young person, we have a piece of graph paper, and we would do all our sine curves and, all of our equations, stuff like that. Now they have a computer. It's a Texas Instrument computer, and you put in the equation, and it flips it for you. And the first time I asked my son's teacher, I go, why would you not teach him, hey, Anthony, keep the extra noise down over there, my friend. He's smiling. He's like, yeah, no, I'm kind of shook there. I was like, I have to have a very steady hand. But they put these Texas Instrument computers on that you put in your equation, it puts it up. I go, well, why wouldn't you teach the kids how to do this? And they go, well, why would we? This way it's never wrong. They put it in right, it's never wrong.
It comes up.
So the world of young people, this generation, again in my opinion, is focused on how well they can utilize and understand this piece of equipment in front of us, or a smartphone, and be able to do real-time things. Back in the 70s and 80s growing up, there was no real time. Real time was 5 o'clock we ate dinner, 7 o'clock you got in the shower, 8 o'clock you're in bed. You did all your homework, that was real time. On the weekends you could go to the field and play, at least for me. That was real time. Those are real variables of time. But real time today is, I could text my buddy and he sees it 3 seconds later and texts me back, instead of having to get off the school bus in 1977, 78, which you weren't even born at that point. You got off a school bus, which they didn't really have a lot of school buses around here. Those are actually things that take you to and from school for those people out there watching our podcast. But you get off the school bus and you'd be sitting there and say, hey, okay guys, we're going to meet at the field at 3:30, right? That was our real time. We had a watch, something like this. You had to look at it, you didn't have a phone, and you met at the field to play sports or to, whatever you were doing, just to hang out. But today, it takes it out. And if you want to have a conversation with your buddies, you could have you have to have it at the field, right, or in school. But now you can have a conversation with your buddies.
The
phone,
Facebook.
Zooms. You can be playing your video game, and you have your headset on, and you can see your buddy in the top right corner and play all kinds of unreal games. But they have them out there. So kids today don't see the trades as a viable way of making a living, which I really think is a bad way of understanding life, because the trades have always been a way for people to make a good life. I know it's kind of like excuse me, I had a little burp, but ghost in my house, kind of shaking it up there. You know what? I will introduce it later. But the trades were always a way for people to have them, to raise a family and have a life. I mean, you look at the utilities trades, like the lighting companies, and the underground trades and the building trades. People grew their families from trades. I mean, steel mills and unfortunately coal mines, which back in the in the Northeast, were not great places to grow your family, but it was a trade, right? So trades have always been there, but now trades are leaving because it's easier for somebody, again, to amass likes on Facebook or Instagram and then have somebody sponsor them and become pseudo-important and make a living that way. And today with COVID, I mean, people are telecommuting and Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So, that's where technology is. Trades have not diminished in the way you grow your family and run your life. And reality is that if you're a good tradesman, you can make a lot of money. I mean, we don't do bad in the trades in California. And I know guys who build houses and remodel and do all kinds of trades. You look at trades. Roofing is a trade. Electrical, plumbing, HVAC, concrete's a trade. Glazing, windows are trades. So anything that has to do with construction is a trade. There's a lot of people that make money off the trades, right? I mean, Home Depot is one of the biggest, companies that sell trade materials to contractors and to homeowners. So if you looked at the fields of construction and you kind of say, wait a second, where's the trends right now? If I was a young person and I like to work with my hands and I wanted to be my own boss at some point and I had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit about me, I would want to be in the trades because it gives me flexibility. You can make six figures easily in the trades.
So you chose to be a contractor because it allowed you to have a flexible schedule.
And I was good at it, and I enjoy it. I love to be out and meet new people. I mean, we were, me and a buddy were talking a while, not long, a couple weeks ago. I was a government contractor when I first came out here, and I liked government contracting. It's a big dollar industry. It's a very paperwork intense industry, but it got really, really burdensome towards 2009, 10, 11, 12, and we really. And I say we, me and the mouse in my pocket, we made a decision to go against the grain because so many of the homeowning, remodeling builders were out of work because of, the housing crisis and stuff, that they went into the government. I actually went opposite. I went back into the residential side. And that made a big difference for me personally because it freed up my time. And residential contracting is not as paperwork intense. It's very client-based. And if you do a good job, the person's happy with you. So there's a level of, what's the word I want to use? A level of kind of gratification, if you will. Like if you're doing a good job and people are telling you to do a good job, then there's satisfaction to that. The government contracting world there for a while was like, you walk into these meetings and all they wanted to do is beat you up because they didn't have the money and they didn't want to pay you, and you had to, if you didn't cross a T or dot an I, they would stop your payroll, and there was so many of these regulations going on at that point. I just said, I'm done with this. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, there are a lot of government contractors out there that do great. They do really, really good, like make amazing money. But you have to want to be in the world of paperwork. You have to want to be engaged in, a book that's about this big called the FAR, which is the Federal, Acquisition Rules and Regulations that you have to abide by in the government contracting world. But you got to really want to be in that. Being in the trades, though, if you learn a trade, okay, you can become a contractor, you can get a license in your trade, you can become a business owner, and you put enough time in, people will come in and believe in you as a person and as a business, and that business will generate more and more referrals for you. I mean, we're in that situation right now. I mean, we haven't done any advertising. We don't do any advertising for general contracting at all. That's all word of mouth. But even our roofing business that we do some advertising, we haven't done in the last couple of months. But we've got, what, another 8 roofs here before, the end of the year that are on the schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of roofs in a summer that's had 0 rain, right? So, and these are people that are getting ready for next year, and they're just calling us directly and they want to get it done. So being a contractor, I think, is really a field of endeavor that is for any level. If you get out of high school, go to a trade school. You don't necessarily have to go to college if you don't want to. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I think everybody should look at what their path of life is, what they want to be in. But instead of going to college, maybe go to a trade school. Because there's some really good trade schools out there that will help sponsor you. I know it's my table shaking in my legs. But there's some really good trade schools out there that will set you up with all the resources you need to become an owner at some point. So being a contractor, the stigmas of it, hard work, you're going to need to do it. Long hours, possibly. Early mornings, yes. You're not necessarily going to have your weekends free, but most of the time you'll have your weekends free. You'll have, you set your own schedule, raise a family.
Melissa will make sure.
Melissa will make sure for me that I have my weekends free.
Yes.
So get yourself a Melissa, but don't get yourself my Melissa. So, but yeah, I think the world of contracting is a good place for people to start thinking about again as a career field and not as a career deterrent.
And then the most important question of this podcast: how do we get in contact with you?
Wow. Well, you can call Melissa. 619-600-8980.
Yes.
That's our office phone. Instagram at A2M Fitness. Is that our Instagram?
A2M Contractors.
Yeah, not G2F Fitness.
No.
A2M Contractors.
A2M Contractors.
Right. That's a different podcast.
Facebook too, A2M Contractors.
Right.
Our website.
A2MContractors.com.
Correct.
That's being developed again, redeveloped. Alan's doing that right now. I talked to him earlier. So we're going to have an ADU page on there. We're going to have more pictures. I think that's the hardest thing for me. I mean,
Pictures.
Over the last 20 years of being out here since '02, I have amassed a picture portfolio that's about equivalent to a cartoon strip. I just don't take pictures, I mean, I got the iPhone, I got all these fancy gadgets, but it's one of those things where I get caught up in the job, and I don't ever, disengage my thoughts when I'm on the job site to be able to say, hey, you know what, we should really take some pictures.
Even when Melissa says take pictures.
So, and what have we done to remedy that? Melissa
will not take pictures.
On what day?
Wednesday.
So if you see Melissa out on the roads on Wednesday with a camera in her hand, just beep and wave hi. I mean, that's kind of the thing we want her. We want Melissa to feel as if the pictures are getting seen in more ways.
I'm getting good at it.
She is. She actually is. So we've got on our website now an ADU page. We've got our kitchen and bathroom remodel page, so you can go and see some examples. I think there's an important value to that. I think if you go to a website for a contractor that has done some work and he's a diligent photographer, you'll be able to get a feel for ideas. A lot of people use other people's pictures on websites, so don't get fooled with work being what they're doing and what's on their page. There's a lot of pictures out there that you can buy off of stock websites that you can use. It's not even your work, right? I mean, so people do that from time to time. I mean, I've seen contractors that haven't done a kitchen remodel, remotely close to some of the web pictures that they put on there, and you're just like, oh, you've never done that job.
Mine are organic.
Organic, kind of like that word. It's kind of like that 2020 word.
They're very raw and real.
raw and real, organic. So if you kind of put the organic, raw, organic, and real, we've got like raw, which is like the Lion King. So we're kind of like, you know, Simba and Mufasa here, right? I feel like, you know, Simba, you know, we need more pictures. And, you know, Simba can say, but Dad, I'm Hakuna Matata, you know? I'm going out and running around with what was it, warthog and...
Pumbaa.
Yeah, but what was the other little animal thing? Was it, one was a warthog.
Yeah.
Anthony, you could jump in. Do you remember what the other guy was? It was kind of like, I've seen him.
His name is Simon.
Was it?
Yeah.
So-
No, never mind, no.
No, I was going to say, Simon's the guy off of, America's Got Talent, right? It was Pumbaa and...
A little guy.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a muskrat, right? Meerkat. It was a meerkat, not a muskrat. Meerkat. So it was a warthog and a meerkat.
And a lion.
And a lion. We're kind of like that. We're kind of like that. I mean, you know, I do voices from time to time. Some of them are, you know, ones I hear in my head, and other ones are from the TV. But we're kind of like the Lion King of podcasts now. Construction podcast. Maybe we should have a little, Anthony, maybe we're going to have to work on something where we have an intro that, you know, I could go, it'll be like Simba or Mufasa or something like that. Yeah, and then I can like hold my coffee cup up like that the ape or whatever the animal was who holds Simba up in the beginning, puts the what's that ink? You know, I mean, come on, you've watched it. You know, your daughter is.
No, she doesn't like that.
Yeah. None at all.
No, she likes Frozen and Frozen.
You're just holding out on her on the line.
I'm trying.
So the orangutan or bamboo, the bamboon would come out at the beginning, and he makes this little ink-like thing on the rock, and that was the sign of Simba. And then he takes the ink thing and puts it on
We can make A2M.
Simba's head, and throws them up, and all the animals bow down, and it's kind of like, you know, we could do that with the coffee cup, you know? It's like we could put the the little Sharpie A2M on it, you know, and just hold it up, and, you know, we can't use the music in the background because that would have copyright infractions.
You'll get sued.
We don't want to have that. This is all about having fun and getting some information out, not about sitting in court, because we do a podcast from court then. And, you know, the bailiff's going to say, shh. And they're going to tell you to put your video cameras down. Anthony's not going to be able to come in. He's not going to be able to do any kind of filming. And that's going to be a shame because it's going to be good content. It's going to be real good content. So, A2M Contractors, give us a call on our phone, 619-600-8980. That's our office phone.
I'll answer.
Melissa will answer. She'll say, hi, this is Melissa, A2M Contractors. How can I help you?
I will.
And then we'll set up an appointment for you, free of charge. Appointments are always free. Kind of listen to what you want to do, kind of give you some ideas, make it feel, make a good feel for what you want to do and give you some good suggestions. And then from there, we can see if there's a proposal and maybe do your work. We're pretty busy right now, but we can always, entertain new contacts. Anthony, do you have a company? My main man, Anthony, his dad was one of my videographers for another promotion that we had done, and something separate from A2M Contractors. That's how I got in touch with his son, Anthony. And Anthony is a great film video guy. He's doing our videos for Garage to Fitness, and he's doing our podcast now. And Anthony's father had originally worked for Univision, right? And then he owned a company called SWAT TV, right? Does he still own SWAT TV?
Yes.
All right. And they are doing, I'll give him one of these plugs. That's what they call them, right? Is it a plug? When you kind of tell people to go see somebody or something like that, give them a plug. I don't know. We're going to give him a plug or a punch, or I don't know. We'll give him a plug. He is doing Latino chefs. Chefs Latino?
Chef Latino.
Chef Latino. And actually, I follow his Instagram, and it's pretty good-looking food that they're making. I mean, I don't know too much about the show. I just unfortunately don't speak Spanish fluent enough to, it's like when I turn on the novellas page, it's like, it's like, oh, that there's something wrong, but you kind of, the only thing I pull out of it is when they go, sábado gigante. I don't even know what that means. What does sábado gigante mean?
Big Saturday.
Big Saturday, right? Yeah. Lunes.
Well, actually, like
Giants. But you put on the TV on the Spanish channel, it all of a sudden goes to commercial, and you hear that. Am I wrong? Sábado gigante.
Sábado gigante.
Yeah, and then
So it's
lunes.
Yeah.
What is that? It's like Monday?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I know some Spanish.
You see, you do.
It's like the novella Spanish. Some people would speak Spanish. Some people speak Spanish English. Spanglish. I speak novella Spanish.
The hola and the ¿cómo estás?
Hola, ¿cómo está? And then, ay, Dios mío! And that's usually somebody with a gun there or a knife, and they walk in on their significant other, fooling around with somebody else.
Oh, and we're bilingual too.
But listen, does speak Spanish. Say something in Spanish.
Like what?
I don't know. Like, dos perros caliente, por favor.
That's not very nice.
It's 2 hot dogs, right?
Yeah.
But,
I mean.
That's like my signature phrase, right? I don't speak a whole lot of Spanish. Ay Dios mío usually gets a good laugh if I'm in with a client and they speak Spanish and English, and I feel like there's something that looks really bad. I'll hit them with something like that, and they always laugh. They're like, "Oh, you know Spanish?" I'm like, "No."
No.
Yeah.
You can call Melissa for that.
Yeah, it's like the OMG of so it's I with an A, right? It's A-Y-E, I, Dios mío.
A-Y.
E. A-Y? No, E?
No.
So A, Dios mío, if I put ADM on a text to you with a question, with an exclamation point, would you know what I'm saying then?
No.
Right. If I did OMG, would you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
All right, so from now on, if I shoot you ADM, it's like saying OMG, right? Ay Dios mío, right?
Okay.
Anthony, if I text you that too, you're gonna know it. I'm gonna start a trend.
Ay Dios mío.
Ay Dios mío. I gotta. But if you're on novellas, man, they all have those great
I
voices.
don't watch that.
You know what? Every once in a while, and again, it's not.
I have a 3-year-old that takes over the TV and watches Frozen.
The problem with the TV, okay, is that I don't watch it enough. Number one, so when I get on there, when I was growing up. Channel 2, Channel 3, Channel 4 were all the news channels. I think Channel 2 was CBS, Channel 3 was, might have been ABC. Nah, 3 wasn't ABC. 4 was NBC. I remember 2 and 4 were NBC. 9 in New York was ABC, I think. Because they used to have Warner Wolf, who was beyond your time, who was one of the sportscasters. There was Marv Albert. There was somebody else out there. But the dials, back in the day, you had 2 through 12 and UHF, VHF on there. And they didn't have a clicker. You actually had to get out of your chair. And the reality was I was really a young kid at that time. So I was the clicker, right? So if my dad was home and he wanted the channel changed, God rest his soul. I mean, he's not with us anymore. But, he would be like, son, go change the channel. And that was a great way to learn, who the boss of the house was, because the first time you said no and you got swatted in the head, you realized that, your role was channel clicker, right? No, I didn't call you channel clicker. They named me Greg, but in a sense, back in the day, when you were born, you were considered channel clicker. So
Greg the channel clicker.
Right, and Greg the trash guy, Greg the leaf raker, Greg the lawnmower. Greg the weeder.
Now he's Greg the boss to A2M Contractors. El
Jefe. But those were back in the day. So now when I go onto the TV, I start my search at actually 1002 because 002 on a TV is non-HD.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, so like if you have an HD TV, non-COVID. That was a non-COVID cough.
Okay.
Right? Because we've been tested several times. Lies. At a TV, if you hit the 1002, it takes you to the HD version of that channel.
So they have 2 versions?
Yes. You didn't know that?
No. I don't watch TV.
See, so when I watch Ancient Aliens, which is a great show, it's actually a history show about where we come from, because we come from aliens. Maybe not, but I believe it for that hour that I watch it. If I go 1002, it brings me to Univision or something else. So if that's the first click of the day, or I hit it going on the channel, like I'll pop up the Spanish channel, And you know what? I'm somewhat intellectually curious about that in the mornings, and I just want to see what their news. Like I don't have to know what they're saying to be able to look in their little caption and see what they're talking about. So if I'm curious and say, hey, what's going on and what's in the world of in Spanish television world, what are they promoting or what do they think are world events? I may not know what they're saying, but I can see the little icon, right? So, and then they go to the commercials, which are always great because then I find the word of the day where, if I'm out on a job site and, kicking around and fooling around with guys and, I want some hot dogs or, 2 cervezas or, a cafecita or, all the words that I kind
of... Like last time.
Yeah.
Russell?
Uh-huh.
He asked me that why wasn't I into the song that the guys were listening. It was called...
no, you can't name the song, remember.
No, I'm going to tell you what it said.
Oh, is the words graphic?
No.
Okay. What's it, a love song?
Papa y bacalao.
What does that mean?
It's a potato and fish.
And they were singing this on the job site?
Yeah.
We got to change the rules. My guys were singing about potatoes and fish?
He didn't have an idea that... I was like, that's because you don't know what it means, and I know what it means.
I mean, they're catchy tunes. I mean, I like listening to Spanish music.
It's catchy, the rhythm, but I mean, it's saying potato and fish.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I got to be honest with you because it's a podcast. And if somebody's out there I grew up with says that, oh, that's a lie, I don't want to be caught on that. But let me be honest with you. Mexican Spanish music to me sounds like polka music. Okay, so when I was growing up, my dad was from a small place called Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And I have a lot of Polish family, and maybe that's why I am the way I am. I mean, all those old Polish jokes, right? But I have a lot of Polish, Czechoslovakian, Yugoslavian, kind of Eastern European family. And polkas were really a big part of their culture. And still is, but not, it's today's a different age. But my Uncle Bill and my Aunt Sil, I think both my Uncle Bill and my Aunt Sil are passed at this point. I mean, I'm pretty sure they are. And he was an accordion player. So he would come to our gatherings and he'd play the accordion and play polka music. And my dad was kind of a goofy guy, maybe not as goofy as I am, but he would pick up the tambourine and he'd pick up the maracas and they would do their own little polka dance thing. And I go da 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 da, kind of music, and it's very Spanish music and polka music. To my sense of hearing, is kind of one and the same thing. It has a lot of the same beats. Now, is all Spanish music polka? No. Is all polka music polka? Yes. Like there's not a lot of variations in polka music, but there is a lot of variations with Spanish music, just like any kind of contemporary music. I've never heard of a pop polka singer, right? There's no pop teen queen, pop teen king polka singer out there, right? But there are Latin singers and Spanish singers like that. So if you're telling me my guys are talking about fish and are you gonna look them up? Trust me. If they're talking about fish and potatoes, then I'm gonna really. What's a fish? What's fishing?
No, it's a type of fish, bacalao. It's a type of fish.
All right. And he eats it with potatoes?
I guess. It's like a song. It was Papa y Bacalao, and it's like, that's potato and fish.
All right. So I'm gonna get on the guys for listening to food songs. They're probably taking lunch early on me. That's why.
They're listening to music all day.
I know that. All right. So we appreciate your time. We're gonna do these podcasts maybe once a month, and we'll break them up into some sections. Hopefully you'll like them. Go to the page, A2M Contractors YouTube page. Subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, as they say. Look at that. Do it again. Thumbs up, as they say. There we go. And we'll put more content out. If you want in the future to send us some email questions, that way we don't have to kind of put some together for you.
That way I don't have to borrow them.
We
other websites.
We can take those questions and answer them. We're going to look to bring some specialists in, not psychotherapists, and although I probably need one, but more specialists from the trades, tile guys, electricians, plumbers over the time. Have a little Q&A with you, and we'll answer questions and have some fun with it. That's the key. So, appreciate your time, A2M Contractors. Melissa Camacho, Office Manager, Operations Manager, Photographer. Greg Sharp, CEO, El Jefe, Mr. ADM, Ideos Mio,
Mr. Sharp.
Mr. Sharp, signing off. Thanks, guys.